How y'all feeling this morning? Listen, we're doing something different this morning. I'm not preaching, but we're going to have an open discussion about money. This is not a time to think I'm about to raise a special offering. This session is to talk about something that affects us each and every day of our lives, but we need to know how and what God says about money. Are you with me? As the video shared with us, there's over 800 scriptures on money by itself. So if God spent that much time talking about resources, there has to be something important to God. So it has to be important to us. So what we're doing today is something different because I believe church should be practical. I believe it should be something that you should be able to put your hands on. It should be something practical that you can leave with and say, hey, I understand that now. And so I've asked someone to take some time out of their busy travel schedule to actually come and hang out with us today. So at this time, Brook family, if you don't mind, put your hands together for our very own Miss Rosalyn Glenn, who's going to come and share with us. So we're just going to sit here and have a conversation just about money, and we're going to have a great time. But before we get into this, I need everyone to get out your pads, your phones, your tablets. This is a note-taking session. Trust me, information is going to be shared that's going to help you and bless your life. But just don't say, well, I'll just sit here and listen to it and then leave and not have the information. So we've done two things. One is we've created a page on our website, brookcity.org/manage my money. Okay, you can put that in your notes, brookcity.org/manage my money. Just put that in your pocket for now. But I need you, if you can, to go to menti.com, menti.com. There is going to be a code. So we're getting ready to do an interactive session right now, and we're going to see where we struggle most financially. So if you go to menti.com, when you go to that site on your phone, I need everybody, if you can, please participate with this. This is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be a great 60 seconds. If you can go there, pull out your phone. We're not tracking you. This is nothing to hack your phone or anything. And you're going to put that code in. So the question that we have on menti.com is, where do you struggle the most financially? So as you answer those questions, it's going to pop up on the screen, and we're going to see where we in the room struggle financially. Y'all ready for this? All right. So saving is where most of the issues are coming from. Budgeting, income, loans, credit, bills. Somebody said purses, fast food, retirement, clothes. But the biggest issue we have is saving, budgeting, and spending, credit. Keep answering those questions. Even those watching online, you can do the same thing. Open up another tab, go to menti.com, put the code in, and let's talk about where we are struggling financially. Savings, budgeting, spending. So they're eating out. Student loan credit. Say no to myself. Children. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. School, Victoria's Secrets. It's up there. I just read what was up there. Lack of job stability. Gas. That's right for the person driving long distances or have what they have to pay premium. Driving your Mercedes. Not planning, saving versus retirement. Yeah, see? So the issues, as you answer the question, we see that the biggest problem that we have is saving, spending, budgeting, and credit. That's just the people in the room. This isn't a poll. When you put that answer to that question, this is where our issues are. So this continues. As soon as you put something in, it begins to recalibrate, and it shows us paying people back. You owe other folk. Vacation. Somebody said hair products. That's what. Y'all spent a lot of money on your hair, huh? All right.
Yes, we do.
Coffee. Just keep moving. They keep putting all this information in here. Child care. Yes, Lord. Help us student loan debt, online shopping, Golden Corral, nails, Sally Mae, overspending, car loans. I keep adding. All right, y'all can stop. But we see the major issue is savings, budgeting, and spending. And so we wanted to do this so that we can see real life where our struggles are. And this is not a judgment zone, neither is this a trick. If the church is going to be the church and really empower people to live successful lives, we have to arm you with the information so that you can live successfully. I'm with it. We've had those services. You give those high fives. We run around the church. We dance. We shout. We praise God. But there's also moments where you really have to sit down and have sober moments and say, okay, where am I? Where am I trying to go? And God, what do you want me to do with this? God wants us to handle our money properly. So I've asked Miss Rosalyn Glenn to come today. She is from Welford, South Carolina. Anybody from the Spartanburg area, Greenville, upstate originally? We have a few people. Hey, how y'all doing? Yeah, so we have a few there. But then she also graduated from the University of South Carolina. Any Gamecocks in the room? All right, we have a few of those. Any Clemson people? A house divided cannot stand. So she graduated from USC. She has credentials and licenses in so many different areas. She also started her own company, and she is the CEO of Glen Destiny Consulting, and she's a proud member of Delta Sigma Theta. And so I know we have a few sisters out there in the DST family. And so I asked her to come because she has so many years of financial experience. So I wanted her to come so we could talk candidly about resources, finances, money, and really just kind of go there. So y'all ready for this? All right, so Roz, let's just jump into our first question. Everybody wants to make more money. Everybody is looking to be well off. They want to be able to purchase what they want to purchase, spend the way they want to spend, go where they want to go, drive what they want to drive, do what they want to do, and not be limited. But even with the spending, I think we really need to kind of change our vernacular and maybe start talking about money and start talking about wealth.
Absolutely.
So my question to you is, what does wealth look like?
I will answer that question, but before I do, can you all help me celebrate this man of God who has the foresight to allow us this opportunity to learn and to be good kingdom citizens. So what does a comprehensive financial plan look like? Well, it first of all starts off with a budget, a spending plan, telling your money what you want it to do for you. That includes also having an emergency savings because life happens. And sometimes in our best effort to do everything right and to make sure everything is tight, life happens. And so we have to have an emergency savings so we don't go to the credit cards to get us out of the binds that we're in. We have to protect our assets. That just means having insurance. You are your greatest asset. So you have to make sure you have life insurance to cover you. You have to make sure you have homeowners insurance and car insurance and all of the insurances. That's a part of protecting or having a protection plan. And then for those of us who have gotten ourselves in a little bit of debt, we have to have a debt reduction strategy. We have to plan how we're going to eliminate that debt. And those of you who have children and want them to be well educated, you want to make sure you also have an educational strategy, a funding for your educational for your children. And then you want to have an investment strategy. Investing is different than saving. We want to have a savings, sure, but we also want to invest. We cannot build wealth if we don't invest. And so we want to have an investing strategy, which may include your retirement plan. We have to plan for retirement. We just can't wait until, we've met, if you state employee 28 years and I'm out, or if you are working for another company that may say 30 years and you're out, you have to have a plan for how you're going to get out, and you have to be strategic about that. And then because we are kingdom citizens and we know that we're supposed to pass wealth on to our children's children, we have to have a legacy plan. How do we pass our wealth on for generations to come? All of those components make up a comprehensive financial plan, and if we're going to build wealth, we have to have every one of those components in place.
Now, she's listed several things, which speaks to the fact that being wealthy isn't just going to come through one means. And I think for most of us, or some of us, I can't speak for everybody, it's just simply making the paycheck and doing what you do with the paycheck, which is live day to day, week to week, month to month. But even with wealth, you have so many different people who are trying to build wealth, but didn't understand things like credit. When I was in school, they had tables out in the community area. I won't say what. Well, I went to school at South Carolina State University. I'm a proud Bulldog. I'm a proud Bulldog for that. And I remember going to the pit or the student center, and they have the tables out, and you get a credit card. Hey, why not? You fill it out, and you get a credit card, and hey, I can spend now. And we didn't know anything about interest rates or paying the bill on time. We were just happy that we had access to additional money. As I've said before, I'm guilty of this, maxing out on every student loan I could possibly get so I could get the largest refund check I could get so I could go to the outlets to spend money on Polo and Tommy Hilfiger and Timberland boots and Jordans and Air Force Ones. Y'all ain't gonna help me. All right, so just me. And so now, later on, I look back at now student loan debt. And I look at student loan debt, not looking back at it. Looking at student loan debt and all of that. What are ways that people can stay on top of their credit?
So we need credit, right? We need good credit. Credit can get you when you don't have money to get it yourself. So we have to be able to manage our credit, and you do that by simply paying your bills on time. It's not I'll say a sin to have credit, because most of us couldn't own our homes or drive the cars we drive if we didn't have the ability to use credit. But you don't want to use credit to buy clothes. You don't want to use credit to buy groceries. Anything that's recurring that you're going to use up before you pay the bill on, you don't want to use credit to do that. You want to be able to use it responsibly. And we have to be mindful of how we do that. Now, let me also say, as we talk about credit, there's a whole lot of myths about things you can do to clear up your credit, and paying people $99 a month to clear up your credit. And while it's a good business to be in, some of those things you can do for yourself. And if you have $99 to pay somebody to clear it up, you have $99 to put towards that debt that you have created to pay it off yourself. So be mindful of those types of opportunities when you're looking at credit and being able to get yourself in a better place financially as it relates to credit. Credit in itself is not bad. You just have to manage it and understand why you need the credit.
Right. The Bible says this: to have a good name is better than riches. And I think what we fail to realize is that a good name is actually your credit score. So when you go to apply for the loan for a home or an automobile or for a business or whatever you're trying to do, depending on where your credit score determines the interest rate that you get. And sometimes, as I said in the conversation that we had before, I was so excited one time that I was able to get a car, and then someone asked me a question that I was never asked before. And the question was, what was the interest rate? And at that time, the interest rate for the car was 26%. Because of my, don't judge me. But my credit wasn't good. But I wasn't concerned about interest. I wasn't concerned about interest at all until the person said something to me, because that was never a conversation. The only thing I was happy about was the fact that I got the car. So we have the car. We're paying sometimes even double than what we should be paying because of the interest, but yet we can't seem to get out of that particular debt. You said don't use credit for recurring expenses. Ooh-wee. I think that might hit a nerve, because a lot of people, I believe, may use their credit card for recurring expenses. Once again, the comprehensive plan she just talked about is on Manage My Money. Okay, Brook City Forest / Manage My Money. So if you weren't able to get all that, if you go to that site, you'll be able to gather that information. So let's talk about this. So the Bible also talks about wealth. It says, right division, make it plain. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors they succeed. That's why we're doing this. because you need to have a financial advisor if you can, or to be able to sit down with someone who could tell you how to handle your money. Because sometimes it's not that we need to make more money at the moment. It's just that we're not managing what we have at the moment correctly.
Right.
I remember one lady told me, do you pay your tithes? I don't pay tithes. I got to make sure my cable stay on. Okay, keep the cable on, right? You do what you do, right? But so it's not that we don't always have the money, it's what we're doing with the money.
It's how we are managing our money. I am a proponent of you telling your money what you want it to do for you, rather than you having your money tell you what you can do. So you have to give every dollar an assignment. This dollar is going to pay the tithe. This dollar is going to pay the electric bill. This dollar is going to pay the mortgage. Every dollar gets an assignment. This dollar I'm just going to blow because I work hard. I have it in my budget to do, and so therefore I'm going to do it. We have to change our mindset about how we think about money, because we allow money to control us. We allow money to sometimes make us do things that we shouldn't do because we're trying to get it. Or we sometimes allow money to stop us from doing what we need to do because we think we don't have enough of it. But I am a proponent of wherever you are salary-wise right now, it's where God needs you to be, and your needs are met. What we have done is made some obligations for ourselves by creating debt. So now it looks like the needs are not met because now I've got to also pay off this debt that I've created for myself. And so we have to start working on our mindset. We have to start thinking about what we think about and why we do what we do with our money.
Okay, so when we were talking about mindset, there's a parable in Matthew 25 where Jesus gives the parable of the talents. Most of you know the story. Jesus gives a story, and the master gave 3 men different amounts of money. Talents during this time is a word for money. He gave one man 5 talents, one man 2, and another man 1. He gave them the talent according to their ability, number 1. So everyone isn't able to handle the same amount of resources, because if we don't change the way we think, the only thing we will do is make the same decisions with more money. So we think if I make more money, then everything will change, when we don't realize everything will be the same. Right. Because we haven't changed our decision-making process as it relates to money. That's right. So what the last man does is when his master comes back to get his money, he said, I knew you were a hard taskmaster. Mm-hmm. So I put your money in the ground, dug it up, and here it is back to you. Mm-hmm. The master says, you wicked.
Right.
If you didn't want to do nothing with the money, you could have put it in a bank account and let it sit there and gain interest. Money. So Jesus even speaks to the fact that it doesn't matter how much money you have or how much little you have, to still invest that into some bank account, because as the scripture says in Proverbs 22:7, the rich will rule over the poor. Proverbs 23:4, do not wear yourself out trying to get rich. Mm-hmm. Do not trust your own cleverness. And I think what we keep doing is we keep trying to play games with our time and our money, thinking that if you do certain things, we'll get it. Mm-hmm. And we're wearing ourselves out, not trying to be wealthy, right, but we're trying to be rich.
There are 2 emotions that manage how we think about money. One of them is fear, because we think we're not going to have enough, we're going to run out, we can't take care of what we need to take care of as it relates to our homes. The other one is greed, and we do a lot of things to get it, and then like the Bible says, it's like we are getting it and we're putting it in bags with holes in it, yeah, because we can't keep it, right, because we're not managing it properly. So our mindset has to change, and we have to line up how we manage money the same way we line up how we live our lives. You know, God knows how we manage money. He knows that we will sometimes decide to go see Beyonce rather than pay the light bill. He knows that, right? He knows that sometimes we make decisions to make ourselves feel better because we deserve it. We can convince ourselves. I'm guilty of it too, convincing myself that I need another pair of black shoes when I have 10 in the closet. We can convince ourselves of some things sometimes, and so our mindset challenges us, and we have to always line it up with the will of God and what He wants for our lives, because as I said earlier, our needs are met. Our needs are always met as it relates to what God needs for us to do. And so it's our mindset. I'm going to say that 1,000,000 times today. It's our mindset.
And I appreciate you saying that. I remember being in the church service once, and the preacher was preaching, and church was up, and he was talking about believing God and having faith, and he said, I have blessed assurance, so I don't need health insurance.
You need health insurance.
What about life insurance?
You definitely need life insurance.
Now, the reason why I bring up life insurance, because really, I know that may be a little comical, but some people do have the mindset that I don't have to do anything now to save anything for later. And so we need more than just mama's wisdom and daddy's words after they're gone. Did we leave anything behind to get them or put them ahead? Whether it was $10,000, $5,000, $50,000, $500,000, what are we leaving? And what's happening is that since we're not leaving anything, each generation is having to start over because we're not giving them anything to put them ahead. We talked about discipline. This is on brookcity.org/manage your money, but she has this very, very, very creative acronym for discipline. So if you have your phones, you might want to take notes on this, or if you're writing down. So I'll let you talk about the discipline acronym. So in order to manage and to build wealth, we have to apply discipline. Once you get the knowledge, and we have what's the saying that knowledge is power? Well, I don't necessarily believe knowledge is power. I believe applied knowledge is power. So you have to apply what you know in order for it to be powerful for you. It's the same thing as it goes to discipline. So when we think about money and we use discipline as an acronym for building wealth, the first thing we have to do is do not create any additional debt. You cannot get out of debt by creating debt. So we have to stop that. The second thing we have to do is to implement a spending plan. We have to be able to tell our money what we want it to do for us, and then we have to be disciplined enough to make it take care of the needs that we have. We have to save systematically. That has to be something that happens automatically. You have to think about it, or you shouldn't have to think about it. I advise my clients to do this: tithe 10%, save 10%, and live off the 80%. If you do that consistently and always, you will build wealth. You have to change your mindset, the C in discipline. Change your spending habits, how you are spending, what you're spending on. Most of us don't even know the amount of money that it takes to manage our household. You need to know if it takes $1,800 a month to manage your household, so that it will then help you to know what you can spend and what you should not be spending. You need to know what that amount is, and so therefore you have to change your spending habits. You have to insure your assets. You are your greatest asset. We have to have life insurance and car insurance and homeowners insurance, disability insurance. All those things help to protect your household. We have to pay our bills on time, the P in discipline. Pay your bills on time. You create additional expenses when you don't pay them on time. That's a $25 late fee or $35 late fee that you are paying, and God forbid you get in trouble and you overdraw your account, and then you start having to pay all those fees on your account because you're not paying things on time. You want to pay your bills on time. The Bible says the L in discipline is to leave a legacy. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. I have said to some of my clients who, and I say this carefully, but I've said to deadbeat dads, get an insurance policy. Because at least if you pass away, your children will know you had them on their mind when they get that big check. If you never did anything for them throughout the year, right? Leave a legacy for your children. The other I, increase your income. And let me tell you something. Increasing your income doesn't always mean getting another job, right? Sometimes it means turning off the lights so your power bill is not so high.
right? Sometimes it means planning your day and how you're driving so you're not in and out and spending a whole lot of gas. You can increase your income by doing some simple things like, turning off the lights. And then the N in discipline is to never use payday lenders. Never use those. You may think that they are helping you out, and in a crunch they may, but when you look at that $300 or 300% interest rate that you're paying, and in some instances 1,000% interest rate that you're paying, it's not helping you at all. And then the E in discipline is enjoy the journey, because it is a journey. Building wealth, nobody built wealth in a day. It is a lifetime commitment to making sure that you build wealth and have something for your family, and that you represent the kingdom in the way that God desires for his children to represent the kingdom.
So even with discipline, that acronym that you created, which I thought was absolutely genius, I believe I have people who can attest to this. We pray. We're struggling financially at one moment. We want our bills to be paid, but we say to ourselves when we're struggling, if I could make more money, I wouldn't struggle. Anybody ever had that testimony, right? If I made more money, half of y'all lying. So, because y'all didn't raise your hand. So if I had more money, I would be better off. I wouldn't be as stressed. And then a $20,000 promotion comes in. We've had people have those kind of testimonies, $50,000 in a promotion, new job, all that. And then we find ourselves, even though we have made more money, we find ourselves spending the money we made. Why do you think we spend more money after we make more money?
It has to do with our mindset and what we think about ourselves and what we want other people to think about us, right? If you think about 2 examples, February is coming. Tax time is coming. We know some of us live for February because we're getting a big tax refund. And if you managed properly, you would have gotten that money all through the year and not have to wait until February to get it. But what happens is you get that big refund in February, get it on February the 3rd, and on February the 5th, you right back in the same boat that you were in. It has to do with your mindset and the image that you want to portray, because, we go and we buy the bigger houses, right? We can say I live in Wildwood. Now, it doesn't matter that I live in Wildwood and I got this big old house and I don't have a stitch of furniture in it, because the people not coming anyway, because I'm not inviting anybody to the big house. Mindset, right. I just want you to know I live in the big house, right? We don't have, and I'm telling on myself, but, we'll choose to drive the Lexus rather than the Toyota. They're made by the same maker. The Toyota is a little bit cheaper, but if you can drive a Lexus and pay for it, drive it. But don't drive it because you want people to have this image of you, and you want this perception of you that is not a true perception, right? It gets back to how we think about ourselves. And we spend money based on how we think about ourselves. Without me knowing a lot of you in this room, if you give me about 10 or 15 minutes to just scroll through your bank account, I can tell you everything that matters to you, everything that's important to you based on how you spend your money. Because our money follows what we value. And so if we say, I want to make sure my family is taken care of and my children are educated, then I ought to see $25, $50, or whatever going into an educational savings account, because that's important to you. At least that's what you say out of your mouth, right? So we don't always follow through with what we say because we want people to think a certain way about us. And that goes back to that battle between the spirit and the flesh. And anytime we follow the flesh, we die. We die financially, we die spiritually, we die emotionally. We have to follow the Spirit, and the Spirit will always lead us into life. It will always give us the things that we need to represent God in the earth. We're supposed to be kingdom dwellers, right? Kingdom builders. We pray, God, help us to build your kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. But we spend so much time in our own mind building our own selves and our own image, and we forget about him and his kingdom and who he is, and that's why why it seems like we have money that we're putting in bags with holes in it, because it's not being managed properly. We have to get a right mindset about how we manage money.
When you're talking about mindsets and spending and having an image, it just kind of dawned on me. So, typical day, you get up, you drop your kids off to school if they're not on a bus. You go to work. What am I going to eat today? So instead of having the dinner in a Rubbermaid container to put in a microwave so I can eat at my desk, I jump in my car, drive around the city to find something to eat. So I spent money to go there, spent money at the place, spent money to drive back. Then after work, because I didn't cook dinner, then drive to another restaurant to meet with friends, to eat again, to then drive back. So just when you were talking, I realized we're spending money and we're not even paying attention to the money because of the debit card that we all have. Because I don't know what I'm spending because I can't see what I'm spending. Versus if I had cash and I went to the restaurant, you know, I'm gonna be like, man, let me look at this menu. That's ooh. I'm gonna look at the cash and I'm gonna look at the menu because I'm going to feel it go away. Versus if I have a debit card, I got you.
That works a couple of ways for people, because some people manage cash better when it's in their hand. Other people, because I'm the total opposite than you. If I gotta pull out, I don't carry cash. I never have cash on me.
Me neither.
And but the fact that I have to pull out my debit card makes me think. So I think, okay, is this in my spending allowance? Because I always go back to my budget, right? I have allotted in my budget what I'm going to spend that week eating out. And if I decide, because I like Outback rather than Zaxby's, and I spend all $25 of my allotted money at Outback on Monday night, then I'm going home the rest of the week because I'd have already used up everything that I allotted.
How many of you are that disciplined that if we have one hand, we have 2, 3, everybody says that, okay, we got about 7. 7 people that disciplined. That's awesome if you're that disciplined. So that means about out of 700 people in this room, 690 of us don't have no discipline.
And that's the problem, right? But they don't have discipline because they don't have a plan. That's the question. If we go back to the plan, because I believe all of us as children of God, if we have a plan, we will follow the plan. Just like we know the plan of salvation, and we are trying to follow it.
But we do have a plan. We have a plan to eat. We have a plan to fill our.
But we are talking about the plan to build wealth.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry.
So it depends on the plan, right? So everything about money goes back to that initial plan to build wealth. That's what we're talking about today. We want to build wealth. We want to leave a legacy for our children's children. So we've got to, everything originates at that point. So I'm always thinking about how I spend my money, because at the end of the day, I want to be able to leave a legacy, and I'm not just talking about of how I live my life, but I want my niece and my nephew to be excited that auntie, you know, they're going to cry, but when they finish crying, they're going to wipe those tears, and they're going to say, let's go to the bank, because I have set it up so that they will be taken care of, and they won't have to worry about it. So it starts with the plan, right? We got to have a budget. You got to tell your money what you want it to do for you. I want you to go to the restaurant. You gonna go to the restaurant and I'ma just eat you up. You tell your money that and set it, and then do that for the budget, for the week. However, based on how you get paid. Most people budget better based on how they get paid. I like to do it by the month. And so I know that every month, in order to manage my household, I need $1,800. However, I need $1,800. So because I'm a commissioned employee, I know that the first $1,800 that I make is got to go towards the household. Anything above that, then I can do some fun stuff with, or whatever else I want to do. But it starts with that plan.
I'm going to ask you all a question. How many of you are like like me, where if you have cash in your hand, you feel it and you don't want to spend it. If you don't mind raising your hand, you're like me. So, all right, put your hands out. So the rest of you are like Ms. Rosalyn. So you just, if you pull out your debit card, you start thinking. How many of you pull out your debit card and start thinking? I don't never think with a debit card. I've never thought with a debit card in my life. I just swipe. $14.92. I go, which debit card am I using? But I don't think about.
That was until you got a plan, because the plan says you can only spend X number of dollars eating out.
I got you. So we need to have a plan for everything. So a budget for our kids, a budget for our spouses, a budget for what we spend overall. Just everything needs to be on a plan.
A budget for your money. Don't think about it in terms of, and you do have to have kids, all of that needs to be in the budget, but it's actually the budget for the money and not for the people, because some of us have family members who go in our budget, right? They should, so that you can tell them they can't call you every week and ask you for something, because I have allotted in this budget for you X amount of dollars. Some of us, if you're taking care of your family, your parents, because the roles, some of us are in what we call the sandwich generation, where the roles are changing, we're taking care of our parents, and we have children coming behind. So in that regard, you may have to say to your parents, I've got $250 a month in my budget for you. You're going to have to get on a budget too, because you can't get any more than that from me. Because if I do that, then my household is going to suffer, and none of us have to be responsible for another man or another woman's household. We have to teach them the same principles that we are living, because family is the worst, especially for those of us who come from smaller towns, and our family thinks we've made it, and you down there in Columbia and you living all large, and they don't know I'm down here struggling just like they struggling, right? I'm trying to do the same thing that they're trying to do. But it goes back to that mindset and having that budget and helping them to understand. I told my family, I'm not coming to the table another time because somebody in my family has passed away and we got to pass the hat and bury them. Not doing that anymore. I work in this industry. I'm not doing that because I know that I see their lifestyle. And I will sit down with you, we'll make a budget, we'll make a plan, and if you follow the plan, then I'm going to help you, because I'm blessed because I'm a giver. We're supposed to be I sow into good ground, and it comes back to me 100-fold. That is a principle, right? So you got to make sure you're sowing into good ground so that it comes back to you. But it goes back to the plan. I've got a family in my budget, right? Here's family. And thankfully, my family doesn't need it, so then I'm able to transfer it to savings, but it's there if it is needed, right? You got to have a plan.
You say have the plan, and you mentioned about burying a loved one. I've seen many people get an insurance policy just for the sole purpose of burying the loved one. But what is the purpose of the life insurance policy?
So life insurance, we think of it, and particularly in our community, we think of life insurance only as something to bury me with. But we should think of it far more than that. First of all, you do have liabilities that you have to take care of when you pass away. And you don't want to leave your family or loved ones saddled with debt. So you want to have a life insurance policy in place to take care of that. But you also, if you are a 2-income household and you're counting on both of those incomes to manage the household and one of them goes away, then what do? Well, life insurance is also a way to say, well, we're going to also account for at least 5 or 6 years worth of income. So whatever that person's income was, if it's $50,000, 5 years, then you need $250,000 worth of insurance to cover that. So you don't think about just $25,000 to bury me. I also need an additional $250,000 to replace that income that I'm going to miss, at least for a couple of years. Give me a chance to grieve. If I need to quit work because I'm grieving because my husband ain't here, let me not have to work because I got the insurance policy, right? And then I'll get myself back together. I'll go back to work. I'll be able to take care of it. And then you also have your final expenses. it takes, on average, $10,000 to $15,000 to bury somebody and have a nice service and casket and all of that. That's on average is what it takes. So you want to have that amount. And then if you got children you want to educate, you still want your children to be educated if you're not here, right? So you want to be able to provide for insurance, because that's what life insurance does. It covers your life. You are your greatest asset. What is the cost of your life? If you leave right now today and your family is dependent upon you, what is it going to cost them? That's how much you want to insure yourself. Most of us are very underinsured because we think $10,000 will bury me, $25,000 will bury me. Well, what about the house being paid off? Is she going to be able to still pay the house note when you're not here? Or he going to still be able to pay the house note if you're counting on both of those incomes? So you've got to think about life insurance more than just something to bury me with.
Okay, so we're running out of time, and so I want to ask one more question, really two more questions. The first question I want to ask is, when it comes down to the people in this room, we want to have it. We want to be able to be comfortable. But I think a question we might need to ask ourselves right now is, what is our current net worth? Can you explain what net worth is? When you see Warren Buffett net worth, Jay-Z's net worth, Beyonce's net worth, this celebrity's net worth, if we had to use a formula to find out what our net worth is, what would that be?
So net worth is taking all of your assets, which is everything you own, house, cars, furniture, clothes, everything you own, and giving it a value. And then taking everything you owe, mortgage, car payment, whatever that amount is, and then subtracting what you owe from what you own, and whatever you have left over would be your net worth. Now, most of us in here now probably have a negative net worth. I'm just going to make that big assumption. But it's taking what you own, assets, subtracting what you owe, liabilities, and then giving you your net worth. And that's how you build wealth, is having a net worth, having something to pass on as a legacy to your children's children.
So what's the number one way to build wealth? Like, what's a sure way?
So you can't, again, create a lot of debt, right? You can't create debt. And all debt is not bad debt, because most of us couldn't own a home if we couldn't get a mortgage, right? So your mortgage is, say the house is worth, I'll use a round number, $250,000. You only owe $150,000 on it. So right there alone, you have a positive net worth of $100,000. Because if you sold your home for $250,000, paid off the mortgage that you owe for $150,000, you'd have $100,000 left. That's a positive net worth. So you build wealth by making sure that you don't ever allow your assets, or your liabilities rather, to exceed your assets. So even when you're buying a car, we go and we want to buy a brand new car, drive it right off the lot, and you'll pay, $25,000, $30,000, $40,000 for the car, and as soon as you get it off the curb of the car lot, that value just dropped by 25, 30, sometimes 40%. But we want to drive the new car, right? We want to have the image of driving the new car. So you want to make sure that your assets stay, or your liabilities rather, never exceed your assets, and that's how you build wealth. Now, if you've gotten yourself in a situation where that's happening now it becomes, the debt reduction strategy. Why you have to have the debt reduction strategy? Because the only way to build wealth is to eliminate the liabilities that you have, to lessen the liabilities and increase the assets that you own.
You mentioned something before, how we have to pay our bills on time. But there are ways that the companies will work with us, because what they want is a payment. Maybe if we even can't make the full payment, if we're making some kind of payment, it will help us get out of debt. Can you speak to that?
I can. It's the principle: tithe 10%, save 10%, and live off of the 80%. Now, of that 80% that you're living off of, you may have more liabilities than that 80% equals, which means that you got to pay less on the liabilities, but you need to pay something. The adage, I'm going to put something on it. Well, you have to put something on it, right? Even if it's $10, because listen, the creditors don't want your stuff back. They don't want to take your car. They don't want to have to foreclose on your property. They don't want, because that costs money to do that. But if you are willing to be a person of integrity, because all of our backs get against the wall sometimes, and you got to own that, and you got to say, even if it's, you know what, I have mismanaged, and my back is against the wall, but because I'm a woman, a man of integrity, I'm going to pay you every dime I owe you $10 at a time. Whatever that number is, once you look at your budget and you make your plan, then you call them up, and initially they probably going to say, nope, that's not enough. But I have experienced where you just start sending it anyway, and you send it consistently. They're not going to send it back in most cases. Mortgages are handled a little bit differently depending on how far you get, because at some point you may have to make the decision that, you know what, I bought too much house in the first place. I should have never bought this house. I can't afford it. And now we do have to kind of go through that foreclosure process. But if you go through it the right way and you manage it properly, then you can still come back out, get back on top, be able to buy a house down the road, one that you can afford and live comfortably in. So there are some decisions that you have to make about that. But the bottom line is we have to be people of integrity. We have to make sure that we are representing the King, the one who we say supplies all of our needs. We have to do that all the time. And our money, really, we think about money sometimes as the source of everything we need. Money is not the source. Money is a resource. God is our source. He is the source. He is the one that provides ways for us or makes ways for us. So we have to be able to manage it according to his will.
We're running out of time. I hate that we even have to stop, but we're running out of time. Did this help anybody today? So we all want to have more. We want to be wealthy. We want to leave something behind. It will be great to be able to write a check and our kids' college tuition is paid for and they don't have to have any student loan debt. It will be great to leave them a house that's paid for. It would be great just to be wealthy so that we could be a blessing to other people. But none of this works. This is just the beginning, because we were talking in the back, and the reality is you can't talk about everything financial within the 30, 40-minute time frame. Mm-hmm. This is only like a chip of the iceberg as it relates to what needs to happen in our lives financially. So if we don't apply the principles, it won't work. So once again, brookcity.org/to manage your money. We created a page to have some resources. We will continue to add information there because we want to be a church that provides you with the resources so that you can live successfully. Mm-hmm. Not just come, shout, dance, and leave in hopes that something can change when God has given us the power to make the change.
Right.
Okay? So I have to look at, no, we have to cut back on this. We can't do this. We can't go there, so that we can budget our resources. One of the things that I'm so appreciative is that when we first started as a church, all we did, we spent money where we needed to, but we just saved it. We just saved as much as we could. And then as we got into the building project and other things, it became a little more complicated with ministry financially. And what I mean by complicated, more moving pieces, God brought my father-in-law here, and he was able to help us with a financial plan. Mm-hmm. So when we're making decisions, it's just not, hey, I want to do this. The first thing he'll always ask is, well, what's the plan? What's the vision? Right. What are we doing? Right. If that's in the vision, we got to make it happen. Mm-hmm. But we just can't do it just because it's some great idea, because it can pull you away from what you're trying to do. And so the plan is necessary. And as Christians and as kingdom citizens, we have to understand that even our money is a representation of our faith. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay? And giving tithes is not like playing the lottery. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. That, if I give my 10%, then everything's just going to go away. If we don't have the discipline not to go shopping, or not to always go out to eat, or to not always spend money on things we don't need, we will always struggle financially and look back and see how much money we've wasted. And that's not only my story. I believe that's a lot of stories in the room. And that's why we wanted to do today. Because if I would have told you we're getting ready to do a series on finances, you'd be like, oh, he about to talk about money. I ain't coming. So I couldn't tell you so that you could come in here and be like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And now I have some information, and I have a resource because she has a company. There are other people here who have companies that can help you get out of debt. Mm-hmm. my back is against the wall. How do I do it? They can sit down with somebody who know money so they can tell you what to do. If you're trying to get your health right, where do you go? So why is it that you're struggling with your money and you're talking to your brother who broke just like you?
Right.
Go talk to somebody who know about money so they can tell you what to do, and we want to thank her. Now, I want to ask her, this is the last question I had, and we have to wrap it up. So you're running for state treasurer.
Yes.
And of course, we can't endorse you from the pulpit, but why are you running?
So I believe that in this current climate that we're in, this political climate that we're in, as we have a mandate. I love God and I serve him. And the mandate is to build God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. That's all of our responsibility. And we cannot do that if we are not at the table. We have to have people at the table who have character and who have integrity and who read and study the Word of God and hear his voice and try to help all of us get to that place. So that is my why of why I'm running. It's a mammoth task way over my head, but I am obedient to what I believe the call of God is on my life, and I'm running because I want to get to the table so that we can be represented, and not just us, but all people who are less than, because we're not thinking about those who are less than anymore.
Yeah. I remember once I was at a meeting and someone told me, he said, Simeon, he said, God will open doors for you to sit at different tables or have different conversations about different topics, some that you know about, some that you don't. And of course, I've had to stretch myself to read books and to learn different things I never thought I would have to do as a pastor, because I never saw being pastor as being political. And what I mean by being political is politics runs everything.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
Homes, taxes, schools, highways, salaries, all that's politics.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a pastor, I'm responsible for your soul, so I need to know what's going on in the community so that I can be a representative for you, so that you get the best people in office, so that they represent you, so we can live the lives we need to live. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I learned was this, that if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu.
Absolutely. I agree.
I'll let y'all chew on that in a minute. If you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu, which means somebody else is making a decision for you,
right,
instead of being at the table to make a decision. That's why you're going to have, the Bible says, if the righteous rule,
right,
the people rejoice. You need people with the right hearts and the right motive that love God, that can speak on the behalf of people who not at the table, and they can speak and defend the people on the menu.
Right.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so God is calling us to do greater things, but our time is up. Listen, we're going to continue this on Wednesday, and we're going to continue this next week. We're going to have more information, so if you want to shout and dance, you might need to visit someone else next week. But if you want to be informed about how you can get your money together, get your life together, we're going to continue this week and next week, and then we'll be done with it. But we're setting things up even next year where we have classes that would teach you and train you, position you so that you can be financially secure. Mm-hmm. Does anybody want that in the house?
Yes.
Right? That's what we all want.
Absolutely.
But we're not going to get that just because you prayed for 3 days and because you gave a $5 seed offering on the altar, or you turned around 5 times and said, I'm coming out. You could turn around 5 times and get dizzy. But if you don't turn around and apply what you've learned, it's not going to work. Does that make sense? Let's give God praise to Miss Rosalyn again, once again. Thank you so much for your time. We also have, I'm sorry I didn't recognize her earlier, Miss Reverend Jennifer Murphy. She's here. Where are you, Miss Murphy? Are you here? You don't mind standing or waving? Said she was here on the way. Not? Okay. Just want to make sure I recognized her. So we're going to prepare our hearts to give. So if you need an offering envelope, you can raise your hand where you are. Our ushers will be more than happy to give you an offering envelope. If you're texting to give like myself, you can text the book to 73256. Tithing is a part of wealth building. We had a new member orientation yesterday, and one of the questions that came up, one of the new members said, well, I'm kind of confused on what I'm tithing on, what that is, and what all that requires. And I had no idea. I just assumed people understood. So sometimes those who have been in church for a while, we have to give room for people who don't know time to learn what you already know. And even though some of us know it, some of us don't do it. And so next week, we're talking about more. We're going to be digging deeper into budgets, because we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about the struggle next week. So we're talking about people, look, my back is against the wall. All my credit cards maxed out or close to maxed out. I got student loans. I got this house or this apartment. I need to get out of this car. My interest rates are high. Like, what do I do if everything is in the red and I'm nowhere near the black? That's real life, right? That's why the church is here, to help you become a better person and manage your resources better. So we'll talk about that and some other stuff, and life insurance and some other things we can do. So if you're giving, text to give. Once again, you can text the book to 73256. And I pray that today has been a blessing. So Miss Rosalyn Glenn, she has a table out here. So afterwards, if you're interested in getting more information about Glenn Destiny, it's Glenn Destiny, right? Glenn Destiny LLC. You can talk to her about what she does on the finance side. And if you also have questions about her running for state treasurer, you can do that as well. Amen. Come on, we're going to pray. Father, we thank you for both gift and giver. We thank you for the seed we're getting ready to sow. God, we pray that today has been a sacrifice that you are pleased with. We pray, oh God, that you will give us the wisdom, the strength, and the discipline to apply what we need to apply, so that we can be financially free, so that we can leave a legacy for our children and our spouses. God, we want to be a blessing to so many people. God, teach us how to do it. We think that we'll do it little by little, but God, when it's all over, we'll be like Solomon, a man of great wealth who left a lot for his children. And we give you glory, because we're not giving where we're living. We're sowing where we're going. In Jesus' name we pray. Everybody say amen.